So I'm going to share with you folks a really crazy story that happened to me about 7 years ago when I almost died in Colorado in the Rocky Mountains. So this happened about 7, maybe 8 years ago. I think I was 29, maybe 30 years old. It was my first time ever leaving the state. I was super excited and I had never gone anywhere in my life. And so the one place I've always wanted to go to was somewhere that changed seasons. It was beautiful, great wildlife. And so I did research for like 6 months, maybe 7 months prior to this trip. And I decided I was going to go to Colorado. I stayed there for almost 10 days. At the time, it was me and an ex. And we went up, we traveled all around Colorado. We went to Denver, we went to Boulder, we went to Estes Park, we went to Aurora, we went to the hot springs. Like, we went everywhere in Colorado. We stayed at multiple Airbnbs, drove all over the place. So let me just get into it. So the last day that we stayed, we were actually flying to Vegas the next day. We were going to finish off our 10-day trip in Vegas. And so we decided we were going to take it easy. We had a spiritual night tour at the Stanley Hotel. If you guys don't know what the Stanley Hotel is, if you've ever seen the movie The Shining, yeah, it's the hotel that's supposedly haunted. So we booked a spiritual night tour for like 6 p.m. or 6:30 p.m. And so we decided we were just going to have lunch that day in Estes Park. We Googled easy trails or small parks like near us, and we ended up at Lily Lake Trail. And we got there at probably 10:30, I want to say 10:30 in the morning, and the entire lake was frozen, but there was some people at the far end and they were ice fishing. And I'd never seen that in my life. Let me tell you, when I went to Colorado on this trip, I was completely culture shocked. It changed my life, especially this story. So we get out of the car. First off, we obviously from Hawaii, and it was both of our first time ever going out of state. So we had snowshoes on, like snow boots. We had sweats on, like your normal sweats with maybe like one layer underneath. I had a t-shirt on and a fleece hoodie. I think I had a pair of glasses, and he had the same thing on, a backpack. We had one water bottle and our cell phones. So the plan was, when we got out of the car, we were just going to walk the small trail, which we read the sign, and it said that it was a trail that went right around the lake and you just end up right back at the parking lot. So we were like, oh, this will be super cool. The signs had stated, to be aware there might be some wildlife out, which I'm all for it, because in Hawaii, we don't have moose or squirrels or bears or freaking cougars, which I wasn't really hoping to see, but I was hoping to see in a way. So this is where I get into the story. So we start our little trek. We walk, we follow this trail, we see other people, they're walking past us, we're walking past them. There's kids, ladies, men, everything is covered in snow. We went during May, and at that time they had just had a snowstorm, and it was actually like one of the most wintry winters they had ever seen in a really long time. And so we were cold as fuck, okay? We continued on the trail, 15 minutes went by, 20 minutes went by. Then we seen a sign, and the sign said, for more wildlife scenery, go this way. And it was obviously a fork in the trail. And just being so overwhelmed and taking in the environment and the scenery, we were just taken back by everything. We didn't think twice that going to see more wildlife scenery on this trail was going to take us off of the main trail that was going to bring us back. For some reason, it's not something that crossed our mind in the moment. What was crossing our mind was, we want to see some wildlife. Everything is covered in beautiful white snow. We crossed over bridges that had water running under it that was frozen. We crossed over a small little bridge where there was a waterfall that came down and came under it, and it was like frozen. It was beautiful. It was like a Narnia scene. And we were taking pictures. We were having fun. We walked for a really long time before we realized, hey, where's the lake at? We should be coming back around the parking lot. By the time we realized how long we'd been walking, it had been about 2 hours. So we kind of looked at each other, and there were still people walking past us on this trail. So we weren't alarmed. We felt okay, we felt safe. So we were like, oh, it's probably around this bend. During one of the last moments we had passed an older gentleman, and something kind of told me, speak up, ask him, hey, is the frozen lake near? Because we're waiting to see it. We're waiting to come around it. That's what we're looking for. And for some reason, I didn't say anything. I remember looking back at him, and I looked forward, and at the time, you know, me and my other half were just walking and having fun and taking tons of pictures and videos, and we were doing boomerangs, and we were just having a blast. So we come across this bench and we sit down because with how thin the air was and how cold it was and how deep we had actually gone in, mind you, where we were was the Rocky Mountains. And the only reason I know that is because when we finally sat down on the bench and we looked out at our view, there was no parking lot. There was no lake. There was nothing but snow and trees and a pasture that went for miles and miles and miles. Now catch this. We weren't lost because we were on a trail. We were on a man-made trail. So we knew that we weren't like lost in the bushes. But what we didn't realize was we had already been hiking for almost 4 hours. 4 hours, okay? Time went by like that. So I pull my phone back out because now I want to know what time it is because I care. And I also want to know how far the parking lot is from us. So I pull out my phone and it says 3%. So I ask my other half at the time, how much battery do you have left? 6%. So we kind of looked at each other, and in that moment, we knew that we needed to head back the way we came because we realized that we were not coming across this frozen lake. We also realized that the trek we had taken us down a Z trail, across a pasture, over and under a bridge. We even crossed parts of this, I don't know what it was because it was frozen all underwater, but it had to have been a part of the lake because you could hear the water running, but we were walking on top of it. At one point, we had gotten stuck in the snow almost waist deep, and we actually ended up really high in the mountain. And it didn't feel like it because everything was just, we were just taking everything in so much and having so much fun. You guys, I'm going to have to go into a part 2. If you're interested, continue watching because this video is about to cut off. But put it this way, it was almost 4 p.m., maybe a little after 4 p.m. And when we looked at the GPS, it pinned us at the top of the Rocky Mountains.